All right, hey, it's Ringo, and I'm here today with Christian from Green Tech Renewables, and coming to you from Florida, Tampa, Florida today. And we're talking about FEOC and how it will shape the future of solar going forward as of today, December 22nd, 2025. This is the best that we know, and all the information is up to date as best we know. Now, we have to, also say with a caveat that we know that the government changes, and who knows what December or January 1st may bring with this president and everybody. So as of today, this is what we know about going forward in 2026 with FEOC. So Christian, how are you today, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Good for a Monday.
Good. And I never really asked you, tell me a little bit about yourself real quick.
Yeah, so my name's Christian Bruno. I'm the manager, the product center manager here at Green Tech Renewables for both Tampa Bay and Commercial Solutions, Florida. Been with our company for about 11 years now, opened both our locations in the Carolinas and have been here for about 3 years. So, yeah.
Came down here because the weather's better, right?
So, can't beat it. Can't beat it,
Maybe there's some other reasons. Maybe business decisions got in there as well, too. But, okay, so let's get to it. So tell me, FEOC, when people hear the word foreign entity of concern and FEOC, what do they actually mean in plain English? What is it?
Yeah, so it probably is best to start with the origin story of FEOC, which actually stems back to the Inflation Reduction Act. So it's bipartisan legislature that our government has kind of determined we don't really like our tax dollars going to maybe a foreign adversary, another country that we're competing with, maybe economically. So we put in a few restrictions early on to help kind of control the battery market. So that's the origin story of FEOC, and it has expanded now with the big beautiful bill here in 2025. So all comes back to when we're putting subsidy in through the government, where are those tax dollars really going? We'd like them to stay within the country and support our domestic manufacturing.
So this is different than tariffs totally, but it sounds like it's kind of trying to solve the same problem. Right?
Very similar instrument, but maybe in the opposite direction. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So let me ask you this also. There's a ton of confusion around the timing. When does FEOC really start to matter?
It depends on the tax credit, but for us in terms of solar, right, 48E is the tax credit that is going to perpetuate beyond the calendar year of 2025. So 48E, a commercial investment tax credit. The rules for FEOC go into place as soon as the change of the year happens. So 1/1/26.
That's in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Interesting. Any chances anything will change in that time?
Maybe not between now and then, but the restrictions around FEOC will probably get some updated guidance throughout next year. I don't expect it to remain exactly how it is today.
Got it. Okay. So there's two different markets I want to talk about. I want to talk about the residential market. So residential first. How does FEOC change the residential solar market, both for installers, homeowners, sales forces, and so on? What are we going to see different for the residential market going forward?
So residentially speaking, this is a trickle-down effect from these tax credits changing, right? We've had 25D for a long time as a residential tax credit, is now sunsetting at the end of this calendar year. So the change with FEOC restrictions is applicable to 48E specifically, which will exist beyond 2025. So in this respect, it's changing the onus of which product is viable for a tax credit based on the origin of the company or the affiliations that company has. So first and foremost, it's probably best to consult a tax professional to understand the nuance of, is this company a FEOC and what definition they would apply to, and whether or not they are eligible. But the good news is in the residential space, the companies that sell solar directly can't really claim that tax credit. The homeowner can no longer claim that tax credit directly. So a third-party ownership company that sells a lease can claim that tax credit. Therefore, the onus is on them to do this homework. So they publish an AVL, an approved vendor list, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's on that approved vendor list will more than likely be tax credit eligible, but they have to perform this homework with, maybe a third party that validates the supply chain that tells them whether or not they are FEOC compliant. So I know that's long-winded, but the best advice in the residential space is if you can consult the leasing companies that publish an AVL and approved vendor list,
mm-hmm.
they will tell you specifically what products work for them and which ones they will approve.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Interesting. Talk about specific components. Is there a specific component or supply chain in residential solar that is most under the radar or whatever?
It started off with modules,
mm-hmm.
specifically, but it'll extend further because honestly, every component and PV is beholden to the FEOC rules. So modules, inverters, batteries, and racking all need FEOC compliance. Modules are the most, I'd say modules, inverters, and batteries are the most global within the supply chain. So all have some semblance of FEOC risk.
Got it. So if I'm a homeowner, the number one thing I need to do is do the research with the lease companies that I'm working with, right? Make sure that I understand what I'm getting into. Got it. And talk to my tax consultant, correct?
Yes.
Beautiful. Love it. So let's talk about commercial and industrial now. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit different on this. How does FEOC impact commercial and industrial solar differently than residential?
It doesn't actually, considering it's the same tax credit.
Okay.
So all those same rules and restrictions apply. The only difference is you don't have the easy safety net of the leasing companies providing this guidance directly for you. So in the commercial space, it's a little bit more open in terms of interpretation. So this tax professionals are going to come more in handy in the C&I space. But every restriction is still applicable.
So tell me about the financing when it comes to commercial. Is FEOC going to affect the financing piece in commercial and industrial and so on?
I think so, because it's going to add ambiguity. So there's more risk involved through it as well. So we're separating this particular topic completely away from domestic content, that additional bonus tax credit, right? So yes, I think consulting your tax professional is of the utmost importance in the C&I space, and using a third party to validate perhaps the FEOC compliance letters that are pretty necessary to prove the supply chain is in full compliance.
Okay, you guys deal with a lot of EPCs, a lot of vendors, a lot of products. What are the biggest mistakes that you might see right now from EPCs? Do you think people are ignoring information that you're sharing or that's out there, or what's the biggest mistake they're making?
It's not necessarily that they're ignoring, they're taking the information and hearing it perhaps through their own lens, right?
Yep.
The biggest mistake is probably accepting information at face value, which leads us down the path of, if you're going to receive guidance directly from a manufacturer, it does need to be vetted. So if I'm expecting to get a FEOC compliance letter that's on the letterhead of any particular manufacturer, and none in particular to point out here, but I would not necessarily trust that. I would go further and have a third party validate that compliance letter fully.
Because that's already been done on the resi side.
Correct.
So the commercial side, people need to do a little bit more research, make sure that it's been vetted. Okay, got it.
It doesn't even come up on the residential side, where we're seeing a number of manufacturers publish a FEOC compliance letter on their own letterhead and pass it to an EPC, who then comes to us and says, hey, why isn't this one on an AVL perhaps, right? And then we say, well, perhaps it hasn't been vetted and they're trying. So it's really not any different on the C&I space. There's just more to get through in that sector.
Got it. Talk to me about 26, 27 going forward. How different is the solar industry looking because of FEOC? Is it going to create, you're in distribution, obviously. You guys are the distribution really out there. What does that do to you? What are you going to have to do, jumping through hoops and so on? And how does the industry look different because of that?
Yeah, it's really shaking up the manufacturer landscape completely. So where we've seen a ton of investment in the US in terms of domestic manufacturing, that is perpetuated, but it's also halted at the same time. There's been a weird ebb and flow. So when the investment tax credit, when the Inflation Reduction Act was first passed, we saw a windfall of investment in the US. As soon as the big beautiful bill was proposed, we saw kind of like this stagnation.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So I kind of expect with more guidance, more more secure investment into the US in terms of domestic manufacturing, but with fewer partners and perhaps newer partners, right? So I think the manufacturing landscape will kind of, I don't want to say flip entirely, but we will see new entrants into the space. We'll see, former partners leave and vacate the space, and we'll see others that divest, so to speak, and have a lesser place in the market. But maybe one of the bigger impacts, and this is maybe one of the things we're not really vocalizing well as an entity, is like the technology is going to change too, because patents are held in particular places that perhaps aren't within the US, right? Historically, overseas has developed way more technology for our space and in an advanced rate compared to the US. We've put our eggs in a different basket. So I expect to actually see product quality not necessarily diminish, but perhaps the efficiency of those products diminish over
Okay.
time.
Got it.
And we'll speed up once that investment gets trued up.
Awesome. I appreciate that. If there's one thing that you could share now with anybody in the solar industry and what they need to stop ignoring the FEOC or whatever that is, what's one last comment, one last bit of information from you that you'd like to share with the industry?
Yeah, considering this is all tied back to whether or not the tax credit is actually eligible for a particular project, that's very specific to every project, right? So there's not a blanket something that is applicable to every job. So the homework's very important to do every single time, especially in the C&I space. So as guidance evolves and changes, continue to consult the professionals around you. Simultaneously, make sure that you're keeping up with how the rules are shifting in terms of the percentage of FEOC material that is compliant. So for 26, that's 40%. But that threshold will continue to rise over time as a means to drive more people towards domestic manufacturing.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. This was kind of a spur of the moment conversation we started having. I figured I want to record this, share this with as many people as I can. This isn't about the big pretty lights we have going on behind us or any displays we have. This is really about the raw content and sharing it with as many people as we can in the industry. And I thank you so much for that. As I post this on socials and I start asking people for comments and so on, is it okay if I come back and ask you some questions, maybe point stuff towards you and so on?
Always.
Awesome. And if somebody's looking for some commercial or residential product, where do you think they should go?
Yeah, Green Tech Renewables is a good place to start.
Good place to start. Well, I thank you so much for your time. You've been a great help. And anybody have any questions on any social media platform or wherever you're seeing this content today, just reply in the comments or wherever you can. Just reply to me, DM me, whatever, and then I'll connect you with somebody who knows more than I do, which is this guy. So thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Anytime.